Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to continue talking about fair division methods, and today we're going to introduce the sealed bids method. All right, the sealed bids method is a nice method because it allows us to tackle the other type of division, which is called discrete fair division. All right, so you see that word discrete there in our description, which means we're going to be dealing with items that really can't be split into smaller pieces. So for instance, if you were to inherit something from a relative that passed away, or if you were getting a divorce or something like that, you have to split up items that necessarily you can't take a knife to and cut in half or cut into thirds or anything like that. All right, so like a car or a house or a couch or a TV or something of that nature, and we got to find a fair and equitable way to distribute the items amongst the parties without destroying the items, preferably. Right, so that's what the sealed bids method does for us. All right, now the method begins by compiling a list of items to be divided. All right, then we follow our nice little step-by-step process here. All right, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, this is a long method. All right, and you need to be careful. Organization in this particular type of problem is key. All right, so you got to keep things organized, keep your information and your calculations straight. Otherwise, you can get lost in this problem very easily. All right, so we'll just do a quick summary of what we're going to do. All right, so once we get a list of the items to be divided, each person that's involved in the division is going to bid on those items. All right, so in other words, they're going to go through the items and they are going to bid whatever they think the items are worth. And this is done in secret. No one gets to see each other's bids. All right, and they're going to put a dollar amount on each item. Right, so essentially a valuation. Okay, this is what they're referring to when they say sealed bid. All right, so we call it the sealed bids method. That's because everyone's bidding on it. All right, and they're sealed. No one can see them. All right, now the bids are collected, right? So we're on to step 2. The bids are collected, and for each party, the value of all the items is totaled and divided by the number of parties. This defines a fair share, right? We've been talking about this since the beginning of this particular unit. We find a fair share. So if all of the items are worth $1,000 and we're splitting $1,000 worth of stuff up between 2 people, then your fair share is $500. Okay, so it's no different here in this problem. All right, so in part 3, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the bids, and each item is awarded to the highest bidder. All right, so if a house was part of this division, whoever valued the house the most is going to get the house. Okay, and we do the same thing for each subsequent item. Then, and this is where things kind of get complicated, all right, for each party, the value of all items received is totaled, right? So if you received multiple items, you would add up the values of those multiple items. And if it's more than their fair share, if the value of the items that they received is more than their fair share, they're going to pay the difference into what's called a holding pile. All right, if it's less, then you're going to receive money from the holding pile. All right, and this ends what we call the initial allocation. All right, it's the initial disbursement and depositing into this thing called a holding pile. All right. Now, in most cases, here in the last step, in most cases, there's going to be a surplus or there's going to be leftover money in the holding pile. Whatever is left over in the holding pile is divided evenly between all of the players involved. And this produces what we call the final allocation. Okay. So that is a summary of the sealed bids method. And I know most of that means absolutely nothing to you. So let's run through an example so you can see all of those steps in action. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of this. And let's take a look at our first scenario here. All right, so we have Sam and Omar who have cohabitated for the last 3 years, all right, which means they shared an apartment, and during which time they shared the expense of purchasing several items for their home. All right, so Sam has accepted a job in another city, and now they find themselves needing to divide their shared assets. Right, so Sam's moving out, he's going off to his new job, and they have these items, a couch, a TV, a video game system, and a surround sound system. And they need to figure out how to split this up so that everyone is happy. All right, and like I said, you cannot cut a couch in half. You can't cut a TV in half. So these are items that you cannot cut or destroy. All right. Now, they go ahead and they bid on each of the individual items. So Sam bid $150 on the couch, while Omar bid $100 on the couch. So Sam valued the couch more than Omar. And then they did the same thing for the TV. So Omar valued the TV more than Sam. All right, and remember they can't see each other's bids. Right, so they have no idea what the other person thinks of these items. Right, but so here we can see the bids for each person. So then we're gonna march forward here with the next step, which is we total up the bids for each person, and then we're going to divide that by the number of people we're dividing amongst to get a fair share. Okay, so I'd get my calculator out and I would start totaling this up. Okay, so we got 150 plus 200 plus 250. I'm getting all of Sam's bids here, plus 50. So the total value of all the items for Sam is $650. So I'm going to write that into my table here. And then I'm going to do the same thing for Omar, but I'm going to spare you the joy of watching me type that in on the calculator here. So we get $600 total for all the items for Omar. All right, now we're going to calculate fair share. Since we're only dividing by two people here, right? There's only two parties in this division. We're going to take $650 and divide by 2. And you would get $325. This represents Sam's fair share, and Omar would be $600 divided by 2, so his fair share is $300. Okay, so for Sam to walk away happy from this scenario, he's got to get at least $325 worth of stuff. For Omar to be happy, he would have to get at least $300 worth of stuff. Okay, so now to figure out who gets what stuff, we go back to the bids and we say, okay, who bid the highest on the couch? All right, so Sam bid the highest on the couch, so Sam gets a couch. And then we go to the next item, which is the TV. Omar bid the highest on the TV, so we're going to put the TV in his column. Okay, and then the video game system. Sam really liked the video game system, so he's going to get that video game system. And then the last item was the surround sound, which Omar bid the highest on, so Omar is going to get the surround sound system. Okay, so there we go. So we have divvied up the items. Now, we're going to start addressing this thing called a holding pile. All right, so what we got to do to figure out the holding piles, we got to figure out what is the total value of the items that they received. Okay, in their eyes, and that's important, in their eyes. All right, so the total value of the couch and the video game that Sam received was $150 plus $250. So this is $400 worth of stuff, which is more than his fair share. So Sam is going to pay $75 into the holding pile. Okay, and the holding pile is just this fictitious pile of cash. Okay, that is created by the parties when they pay into the holding pile. All right, so right now there is $75 in the holding pile because Sam got more than his fair share from the items. Now we're going to do the same thing for Omar. So Omar got the TV and the surround sound, so that was $250 plus 100, so $350 worth of stuff. His fair share was $300, so that's more than his fair share, so he's going to pay $50 into the holding pile. Okay, so he pays $50, he pays $75, so the total amount of money in the holding pile here is $125. So that fictitious pile of cash now has $125. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to write out what we call the final settlement. All right, and we'll talk about what we're going to do with this 125 here in just a minute. All right, so in the final settlement, Sam is going to get the couch and the video game. So we're going to say Sam gets, and we're going to say couch plus video game and then I'm going to put a minus here. You'll see why here in just a minute as I set this up. We're going to say minus $75 that he had to pay into the holding pile, and then plus his share of the remaining cash in the holding pile. All right, so this money that's sitting here in the holding pile, this $125, we split that evenly between Sam and Omar. So if I take this 125 and I divide it by 2, what I'll get is $62.50. And so that means each person is going to get an additional $62.50. Okay. Now remember, the couch was worth $150. The video game was worth $250. Then we minus 75, and then we added $62.50. And when I add and subtract all of these things, we get what's called a total value. And the total value of his final settlement is $387.50. Okay, and so what we can say, Sam gets a couch and a video game, pays $75, and then gets $62.50, and the total value of that final settlement is $387.50, and he's going to be happy with that because his fair share was $325. Okay, so the reason I like to calculate that total value at the end is to make sure that Sam walks away happy, and he will. All right, now we need to make sure that Omar is also going to walk away happy with this division, right? So we're going to say what Omar gets. So Omar gets the TV plus the surround sound and minus $50 because he paid $50 into the holding pile, and then plus $62.50. And remember, the TV was worth $250. The surround sound was worth $100 minus $50 plus $62.50. And when I add all of that together, we get $362.50. And then I compare that, right? So this is the total value here. I compare that to his fair share, which was $300. So $362.50 is more than the $300. So Omar will also be happy. Okay. All right. Like I said, long problem. I wasn't lying in the beginning. There's a lot of steps to it, but you'll notice, like, one of the things I get used to doing with the problems in this kind of a class, I make these tables to help me stay organized. And so, like over here, I remember what it is I'm calculating. So I would make sure that you do the same thing. Set up an organizational system that works for you. You don't have to use my framework here or my table that I set up. You can make your own if you like, and set it up the way you like it so it works for you. Okay, but you need to be able to get through each component of this type of problem like this, because I might ask you questions like how much money was left over in the holding pile, or what was Omar's fair share, or what items did Sam end up getting in the end, right? So like I can ask you anything about any stage of this problem, or I can ask you to do the whole thing as well. All right, so be prepared for that. All right, guys, that's it for today. We're going to take this nice and slow, so we'll do another example of this tomorrow. And if you have any questions for me, let me know in the Zoom chat. Have a great day.